Hey friends, today we are celebrating 6 months here on YouTube for Small Things Daily. I can't even believe we're here. When I started this channel, I honestly had no idea if anybody was going to watch it, if I was going to continue making videos, or if it would just be a one and done kind of thing. I had never watched YouTube before in my life, and here I am still making videos 6 months later and loving that I get to connect with all of you. So to celebrate, we're going to do something a little bit fun today, and I'm going to do some questions and answers, a little Q&A session with some of the questions that I get all the time on my videos and some questions that you guys went ahead and gave me when I said we were going to do this little celebration. So I'm going to answer those questions directly. I'm going to answer them as fast as I can. I'm sitting in the car waiting for my kiddo at piano lesson. Let's do this. If you're new here, I'm Megan. I've lost 125 pounds using compounded tirzepatide. I started in August 2023 weighing 243 pounds. I lost 100 pounds in 10 months and went on to lose an additional 25 pounds over the next 5 months. And I've been maintaining my weight with a weekly shot at right around 118 pounds for over a year now. Being on a GLP-1 has changed my life in the most amazing ways. I was not obese my whole life. I didn't struggle with my weight for most of my life. Once I turned 35 and had all 3 of my kids, my hormones got all jacked up and weight started to creep on. I gained about 75 pounds in a year and then just kept on gaining and gaining. In the 5 years that I spent in an obese body, I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. I was not the person that I was meant to be. I was not the person that I knew I was on the inside. What was happening on the outside didn't match the old me. It didn't match my true self. And I'm so glad that I found GLP-1s because they helped me get back to where I knew that I wanted to be, to get back to the heart of the person who I truly am, and to be able to get to be the person that I want to be, who can do anything and everything she wants to do. So here I am sharing some of that story on YouTube because I want all of us to feel as good as I feel. Now, being on a GLP-1 isn't just about the outside. It isn't all about the end result of how your body looks. Now, my body looks completely drastically different than it did in August 2023. Honestly, I don't care that much about that. What has been so transformational and so amazing about this journey? And now don't make fun of that word. I don't know a better word to use. My mom uses the word excursion. I just can't get on board with that because that makes me think of a cruise, like we're going on a cruise on an excursion. Truly, it is a journey, but it's more than that. It's a transformation. And now that we have this amazing tool in GLP-1s and all of the future medications that are coming out that are going to be helping us in all these amazing ways, treating the root cause of obesity, helping our brain get right, that something is wrong in our brain that is causing us to eat food and eat more food than we need and gain weight and hold on to that weight. I think now that we have that tool, I want everybody to have the opportunity to feel as good as I do, that I am living life to the fullest. So let's get into some of these questions. So number one, most asked question that I get on every single video that I post is, did I have loose skin? Yes. The short answer is yes, I absolutely had loose skin. Loose skin is going to depend on so many factors. A lot of it is just going to be genetics. It's going to be your age. Your skin loses elasticity as you get older. I was losing weight in my 30s. I'm now 41. So my skin is probably going to snap back a little bit better than somebody who's losing weight in their 60s. Also, I was only obese for a handful of years. For less than 5 years, I was living in an obese body. If you have struggled with obesity your entire life, again, your skin might not stretch back as snappily as mine did. And those are things that are completely out of our control. And really, there's just no way to know until you get there. So I think the real question that you should ask yourself, not am I going to have loose skin, is what matters more to me, my health or the possibility of having to deal with loose skin? For me, it was an easy answer. Now, for the longer answer of where I had loose skin, I had a lot of loose skin on my bat wings, that you might call them, where they kind of flap around under your arms. And I was able to really fill that in with muscle. Once I started strength training in earnest, my bat wings did not bother me anymore. I also have loose skin on my thighs. I was always a bottom heavy girl. I had a big booty and bigger legs my entire life, even when I was more thin. So my thighs are a little saggy, my booty is a little bit saggy, even down to my knees. I can notice like a little saggy skin on my knees. And really, I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I'm a mom. I should not be wearing booty shorts, and I'm just gonna mostly cover that up. There's pretty much, my husband is gonna see me in that area and he is perfectly fine with it. And I'm gonna be wearing a bathing suit where you might see some of those things. And honestly, when we're all wearing a bathing suit, nobody is looking and it's just fine. I've become okay with that. Other places I did have loose skin were my boobies. That was probably the biggest thing that I wasn't expecting, was that those things went way south. I had deflated long balloons and I had that taken care of. I did have surgery in July of 2025 so that I could fill in those deflated balloons. I had a breast lift and I got a very small implant, and I'm so happy with that decision. While I was having that surgery, I did go ahead and also have a tummy tuck. I had very little loose skin on my stomach. A big reason why I had the tummy tuck was more because of prior surgeries that I had. I had 3 C-sections. I had 1 emergency abdominal surgery after one of my kids was born. I had a hemorrhage internally. I had a uterine artery rupture and they had to go in, and I had a vertical incision in addition to the C-section incision that I had, and it went up and around my belly button and just made my belly button look like a frowny face. So the little bit of loose skin that I had plus that whole frowny face situation, I just figured I should just get that taken care of while I wanted to get the top stuff done anyway and just pair it into 1 surgery. I would say I probably could have been just fine without getting the tummy tuck and leaving that loose skin situation as it was, because again, most of the time it's covered up. Nobody's really seeing that. I could wear workout clothes, even a crop top, and nobody would have noticed. It really wasn't an issue. Okay, the next question was, how do you deal with the anxiety or the fear of not losing enough? Now, again, this is just an instance where you don't know until you know. Yes, there is a small percentage of people who are not going to lose weight on a GLP-1. And right now we have a couple of different options that are out on the market, and more options are in the pipeline to come out soon. So if you are one of those people who doesn't have success with one of the medications out now, I think I would still have hope that one of the newer medications might be the medication that is going to work for you. But for the vast majority of people, these medications are going to be helpful. Now, all of us don't start losing right away. I know I did. But there are people who it takes a few months or getting up to a higher dose of the medication before they see any weight loss, and then they still have massive success. I think the key is to take it one day at a time and focus not on the outcomes that you have no control over, but on the inputs that you do have control over. Live every day as your very best day that you can. Make the right choices with food, get in your protein, get in your fiber, go for a walk, do all the things that you can control, and let the medication work in your body. Let your body do what it will do. And if you're finding that the medication is not working for you, work with your doctor to adjust the dose, adjust the medication that you're on. Some are better than others, but really just cross that bridge when you get there. The next question was how to get in protein when you don't care for rotten milk products. Okay, I don't really care for rotten milk products either. I do like Greek yogurt, but I only like one specific brand of Greek yogurt. I buy Faye Greek yogurt for myself. It's kind of pricey, so I buy a cheaper Greek yogurt for my kids from Costco. I tasted it the other day and it was so gross to me. I just don't like it. But that one specific brand I can eat and I can tolerate it. Same for cottage cheese. I will not eat cottage cheese except for Good Culture cottage. That one tastes fine to me, but all other cottage cheese is disgusting. So number 1, you do not have to eat any foods that you do not like. It is not required to lose weight on a GLP-1 to eat foods you do not agree with. I would say the easiest and the best way to get in protein is just by eating meat. Some people choose not to eat meat. If you're vegan, we're going to have to find alternative ways to get in your protein. It might take a little bit more work, but it can be done. If you don't like high protein dairy products, don't eat them and find other ways to get your protein in. Cindy asked how quickly quickly I titrated up in dose. I did make a whole video about dosage that I'll share the link to, but back when I started in August 2023, it was still the standard procedure to go up in dose every 4 weeks, that you started on 2.5 milligrams of tirzepatide, stayed on it for 4 weeks, and then went up to the next dose. It was just starting to come into the popular lore that maybe we should stay on a dose if it's working and not go up to the next dose just because that's what the pharmaceutical companies had said. Back when I started, the pharmaceutical companies had Mounjaro out for diabetics, but people had started using it for weight loss. But there wasn't really information out there about using it for weight loss. And people were out here in the wild west of YouTube and the internets and helping each other figure out how to use these medications. So I stayed on the first dose for 5 weeks. I felt a clear shift inside where I knew I needed to go up to the next dose. And I pretty much did that with each dose. I just waited until my body told me, oh, it's time to go up. I knew that because the food noise was coming back. I could tell that my body was not responding to the medication in the same way that it had before, which for me was really drastic. I was a fast food addict and I had been eating out 5 to 7 days a week, sometimes multiple times a day. All of that instantly went away. I was able to think rationally about food and have a pause between seeing food, being able to rationally think about the food and the food going in my mouth. Whereas before, there was no time between the eyes seeing the food and the food being in my mouth, that it led to regret and shame and so many conflicting and complicated feelings and lying to myself and others about food. And the very first day I was in a GLP-1, all of that was gone and quiet. So I knew when it was coming back, and that's when I went up in dose. My highest dose that I ever took was 12.5 milligram, and I only took that dose for 2 weeks. It did not agree with my body, so I mostly stayed on 10 milligrams. I took 10 milligrams for about 6 months while I was still losing weight, and then continued to take that in maintenance. And I have maintained my weight with a dose between 7.5 and 10 milligrams for about a year now. All right, Diane asked about supplements that I use for hair falling out. Now, my hair did fall out a couple of times during my weight loss. For me, it was very similar to postpartum hair loss. Every time I had a baby, about 3 months later, my hair would start falling out. I would just start noticing kind of chunks of it coming out in the shower. I have a lot of hair. I'm a thick-haired girl, and there's a lot of hair that clogs the drain. And you know what? Hair grows back, so I wasn't too concerned with it when I started taking a GLP-1 and eventually started losing my hair. I knew it was just a cycle. I knew once the cycle was over, my body was not going to continue shedding hair and hair and hair, that it would stop eventually and new hair would grow, and that is just what happened. I did take Biotin, and I think it works great. I found a cheap version of Biotin on Amazon and took that, and it worked great. For me, it actually caused more problems because it caused hair to grow all over my body. There's no way to choose where the hair grows. If it could have only helped the hair on my head grow, it would have been great, but it grew all over where I pay good money to get that hair taken off. So I was kind of annoyed that I was paying to get hair taken off my body in places, and it was continuing to grow and grow at a really aggressive pace because I was supplementing with this supplement. So eventually I just quit taking it and I just dealt with the hair loss. I think I had 2 or maybe 3 cycles of hair loss during the 15 months that I was really actively losing weight. I actually just had another one. I had surgery in July and had a cycle of hair loss about 3 months after the surgery. So it's not just weight loss that causes it. It's really any trauma to the body. You can chat GPT it and it'll tell you all about what's happening to your body. I'll leave it to that. Okay, this is such a good question. I do not personally know anybody who has taken the shots and stopped them and been able to maintain their weight. That is not to say that it's impossible. And I think for a lot of people, it's probably totally possible. I think it depends on a lot of factors and probably depends on you being honest with yourself. I know that I struggle with the disease of obesity. My mom has been obese my entire life. Most of my family members all have been obese and struggled with diabetes, and I just know that it's in my gene. I was able to fight it off for 35 years until I wasn't able to. Something just clicked in my body where it triggered those genes to start working in a way to make my body hold on to fat and feed my body in a way that I was getting fatter and fatter every single day. I never want to go back to that again, so I am okay with staying on this medication long term. I have gone off of the medication for 6 weeks when I had my surgery in July, and while it was fine, I did not gain a single pound. I actually lost weight. It was harder than I wanted life to be. I want more brain power to be able to focus on the things that I enjoy in life and to be able to really live life to the fullest. If I'm having to think about food so much and think about controlling my food intake to maintain my weight, it makes it harder. And I'm okay with taking the easy way out. Perhaps if you were somebody who was using a GLP-1 to lose 25 or 30 pounds caused by something like taking a medication that made you gain weight or something like that, sure, you might have a really good chance of being able to keep the weight off once you stop a GLP-1. And I think it's those internal factors in the brain that make the big difference. It's not a matter of you having more willpower than me or me having more willpower than you. It's just how are our bodies different? And is your body able to function in a normal way without the GLP-1? Some of us, it will be possible, and some of us, it won't be. Now, do I feel obligated to tell people about a GLP-1 when they make comments about my weight? Absolutely not. I do not feel obligated to tell anybody anything that I don't want to tell them. And I think for the most part, I am pretty forthcoming when it comes to being on a GLP-1, and I will tell people about it, and I will share my experience, usually from a place of I want everybody to be able to have this experience that I have. So if I can be helpful by sharing, I will share it. If I sense any sort of judgment coming my way, I am happy to keep that to myself and let them think whatever they want to think. Would I consider the pills since I hate needles? Absolutely. Yes, I hate needles. I've never given myself a shot, not one time in almost 2.5 years. My husband has given me every single shot, thank goodness, because I'm terrified of needles. I hate them. I have to do meditation and breathing exercises before every single shot. It's not that the shot hurts. It does not hurt. It is just a mental thing. I have an actual phobia when it comes to needles. So yes, if the pills become available in a way that I can affordably get them, I will absolutely be there. I think it's yet to be seen whether the pills are going to be as effective in losing the weight, but I think they've shown that they can be pretty effective in maintaining weight. So I think for people like me who don't like needles, once we get to our goal weight, it could be a great option for maintenance. Okay, the next question was, how does my husband feel about my weight loss? Now, first of all, my husband is the most supportive person ever in the entire world and has been there every step of the way. And he likes to joke now that he has, been in the bedroom with so many different women at this point in our almost 20-year marriage, because besides this weight loss journey that I have been on, this transformation, I gained and lost 50 plus pounds with each of my kids and have gone from a 22-year-old when we got married to now a 41-year-old. And it's just, my body has changed and morphed into so many different things. And when I was 243 pounds, he loved me for who I was. He told me I was beautiful, and we lived life and went on dates and loved it. But I can absolutely say that our relationship has improved so much because I'm happier and because I'm happier with myself. And if you are fully in love with yourself and truly at peace with your body and yourself, then your relationships are going to get better and be better. So even though our relationship was already good, it has gotten even better, which I'm so thankful for. And we have a lot of fun now. We have shared fun hobbies like pickleball, where we can go out and play pickleball. And that's just something we could not have done before when I was obese. It was just not physically within my capabilities to do something like that. We go out and take long walks together and have tons of conversations while we're walking. And walking together was, again, just something we never did before. So my weight loss has opened up opportunities for more connection in ways that I didn't even know were possible. Okay, Patricia asks about strength training. So I talk about strength training while I was losing my last 25 pounds. That is when I really got intense about strength training. But I had been strength training the entire time. When I started on a GLP-1, I started day one going all in with going on a walk, with exercising. I started using my Tonal and exercising at home. I was exercising in a way that worked for my body, and I was living in a supersized obese body. I couldn't do much. What was a huge workout to me at that time is pretty much nothing to me now. And I just did the best I could with the body that I had. But once I had lost 100 pounds, that's when I knew I wanted to kick my working out into high gear, because I wanted to not just work out because I knew it was the right thing to do, but I wanted to work out to really start to transform my body. This is where body recomposition started to come into play. I started increasing my calories so that I could truly start building muscle. And that's really when my body started transforming. It was a combination of getting down to the last of my body fat. So everybody's body is different, and if we could all choose where the body fat came from, that would be fantastic, but we can't. And for me, the places where I really held on to my weight, even when I was a normal weight, I always had bigger thighs and a big booty. And the last 25 pounds, that's finally where I attacked that fat and was able to get rid of that fat. Sadly, it's also where I lost my boobs. So it was definitely a trade-off. I could have kept those 25 pounds on. I would have still been a healthy weight. I would have kept my boobs. I would have kept my butt, but I would not have the muscular, lean, athletic look that I have today, because these muscles would have been still covered in this layer of body fat. It takes getting down to a certain body fat before your muscles can be seen. So even if I had the same muscle under that body fat, I wouldn't be able to see it. It took losing that last 25 pounds for me and getting down to closer to the lower end of the healthy weight range for my height. So for my height, I'm 5'4". A healthy weight range is about 107 pounds to 145 pounds. I've been maintaining right around 118 pounds, and that is the weight where I feel my best. I feel like my body looks the way that I want it to look. You can see my muscles. I look fit. I look muscular, and I don't look frail. So it's not like I'm too thin, and it's easy for me to maintain. Sure, I could probably lose 10 more pounds, but I would have to be more diligent about what I'm putting into my mouth. That has a lot less to do with working out more and a lot more to do with what I'm eating. I would have to be really strict about my protein and probably eat less carbs than I do, less sugar than I do, and I'm just not willing to be that strict. I'm happy with the body I have now. It's easy for me to maintain as long as I take my weekly shot. So that is what I'm going with. Okay, this question has nothing to do with weight loss, but I thought it would be a fun one to answer, and I know a lot of people are curious about it. So how have I found such success on YouTube in such a short amount of time? Well, just like on our weight loss journey, we can't compare your day one to somebody else's journey. We can't compare my day one on YouTube to anybody else's, because we all have different backgrounds and different experiences that led us to this point. So while I only started on YouTube 6 months ago, I've been sharing my life online for over 10 years. Even prior to that, if we go way back, I have a degree in public relations. I started out working at my college newspaper. I went to a large Texas university. I started out as a reporter. I worked my way up to be an editor. And I remember falling in love with the idea of being able to craft a story and communicate a message to a large audience. So I could take a reporter's story, and by packaging it with a headline and with photos or illustrations or just the layout that I was using, that I could communicate this news with a mass audience. And there's such power in that, but there's also a lot of responsibility. And that experience has stuck with me throughout the years. I've had multiple different jobs. I worked at a PR agency right out of college. I worked with politicians like former HUD Secretary Henry Cisneros. I worked with UFC fighters who were doing some pretty amazing things outside the ring and wanted those stories to be told. I worked with the NCAA Final Four. That is not just a couple of days of an amazing sporting event, but a huge economic win for an entire city when the Final Four comes to town. I had a brief stint with my own business planning planning weddings, and I loved getting to help brides and grooms come up with a story that they wanted to tell about their love, and to be able to share with their wedding guests the love that they felt for each other. And that was such a special, magical thing to do. I took that experience and went into working for a wedding magazine. I helped produce huge bridal shows at convention centers and fashion shows. And again, all of that is storytelling. It's communicating a message and meeting people where they are to help them in what they need help with. After my second kiddo was born, I started a personal blog. My first blog was called Practically Hippie, and I was sharing all of the crunchy mom things that I was doing in my life. I was doing cloth diapers on my kids. I was learning how to make homemade yogurt and jam. I was picking up raw milk from a farm co-op. I was baby wearing and doing gentle parenting and attachment parenting and all of those crunchy mom things. And my friends would ask me all the time about all these different things. And so I started thinking, oh, if my friends are asking me about these, what if I just share these things on a blog so that I can spread this message to more people? My blog was never a huge success, but it brought in enough through ad revenue that I was able to support it. And it was a fun little hobby. After my third kiddo was born, I decided to kick it up a notch. And I felt like I wanted to put more of myself into my blog to really turn it into a business. I used Instagram as a vehicle to do that and got really active on Instagram, grew a following, was able to create products and sell those products to my Instagram audience. I could launch a product and be guaranteed that I was going to make 5 figures that day because my audience loved everything that I created. And I don't say that to brag. I just say that to demonstrate that I knew what I was doing. I had taken all the experience that I had already learned and put that into practice, where I was telling stories that were connecting with people and telling the stories that they needed to hear to be able to improve their own lives. My brand shifted from general motherhood to more homeschooling. And I knew that there were so many resources out there where people could get information about homeschooling. So I knew what I wanted to share was going to be a little bit different. And I wanted to share about creative homeschooling. I wanted to share about crafting and being in touch with nature. And I was able to create products that helped people implement some of the ideas that I was sharing in their own homes. My products were so successful that it actually started taking over my life. And I started gaining weight when my business started becoming a success. I was spending so much time on my business, I was neglecting myself, and it was just kind of a cascade of events where one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I had gained 100 pounds, had a successful business, and felt completely empty inside. I've been so lucky to meet some amazing people along the way that I have grown my businesses, and I was able to strike out a deal with another curriculum company where they took over the selling of my products and still sell my products today. I don't create any new homeschool products, and I like it that way. It is just better for my life right now that I can sell the products that I already created, but I don't have to create any new ones. I started on a GLP-1 in 2023, and my husband actually had a stroke just a couple months after I started. He is completely fine, and we're so thankful for his health, but it was definitely a wake-up call. And I wanted to focus 100% or more on my own health. That's really what gave me the drive to have such success with my weight loss journey and to pour everything I had into losing weight. Once I had lost that 100 pounds, then I started pouring everything I had into being the fittest, best version of myself that I could be. Once that happened, I kind of had a void in my life where I really wasn't sure what else I was going to do. I had been spending so much time pouring into myself that I was kind of feeling lost again. And so YouTube came at the perfect time for me, where I had some extra time in my life and a space to fill, and it gave me a creative outlet and the opportunity to use all of my skills to help people in the very best way that I know how, which is by sharing my story and sharing tips and tricks of what has worked for me in hopes of inspiring others. I am not super technology savvy. I film all of my videos on my iPhone. I do have a really nice Sony mirrorless full frame professional camera, and I've used it on a couple of videos, but honestly, it's harder to edit. And I've really learned that YouTube viewers don't really care. I used to be so particular about filming my videos inside my house with a pretty background, And then, of course, the couple of videos that I filmed in the car while I'm waiting for my kids while they're at lessons, they do way better than videos that are inside my house. So I've realized that I can let go a little bit of the aesthetics of things, which is a little bit different because when I was building my business on Instagram, the aesthetics were so important, and the aesthetics of what I was sharing were the thing that people were inspired by. So being here on YouTube, I am learning that it's more about what you're saying and less about the aesthetics of the package. I am realistic with myself that I am a busy mom. I have 3 kids. I have to film videos whenever I can and make it easy on myself, or I'm not going to film videos. I think if you are sharing on YouTube and you are trying to turn this into a business, you'll see so much advice out there. But I think the best piece of advice that I could give you is to think about how you could help other people transform their lives and give them that. In every single video, take them one step closer to the transformation that you want them to have. It is okay if you are still in the middle of your own transformation because you're always 1 or 2 steps ahead of somebody else. And I think if you create videos with that goal in mind, that you will be on your way to success. Now, it might take time. I got to where my YouTube channel was monetized in 21 days. Now, that is not going to happen for everybody, and it is part luck, part knowing what to do, part being able to tell stories, write scripts, edit videos, make your audio sound good, plan, time management. There's so many things that go into it. But if you have a genuine heart for helping people, I think you're going to get there. If you are another content creator and you have questions or want to brainstorm or talk about it, send me an email, hello@smallthingsdaily.com, and I am always happy to chat about things like this. Okay, and I forgot one last question that somebody asked, but somebody asked if I'm going to be going on the Downsize Cruise, and the answer is yes. If you don't know what the Downsize Cruise is, the Downsize Cruise is put together by Christopher and Lorraine over on the Downsize channel. They were really my first introduction to YouTube. I had literally never watched a YouTube video before in my life. They interviewed me on their channel probably a year ago through a connection with my mom, of course, Barb at Health at Any Cost. My mom actually took me as her +1 on the cruise last June, and I had so much fun. I thought I was going for a relaxing time and was just going to hang out by myself. I had no idea I was going to meet 50 other people who were on a GLP-1 who had life-changing, amazing stories about how a GLP-1 was impacting their lives. And it was really being on that cruise with other people that was such an eye-opener to me, where I didn't realize that the experiences that I had, especially around food and food noise, were common shared experiences with so many other people. And that's really what gave me the push to start this YouTube channel, that I felt so alone. I felt so messed up, and I just thought it was me. I thought I was probably the only person. And I remember talking to people on the cruise and realizing, oh, other people have these experiences too. Other people are struggling, and other people were drowning under the weight of their obesity like I was. And that was new to me. And the reason why I don't want anybody else to feel like that. So here I am sharing on YouTube, and I am so excited to get to go on the cruise again. I haven't booked the cruise yet, but I'm going to like today or tomorrow so that it can be a done deal. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to meeting more of you so that we can share some of those experiences together. And if you have a question that I didn't answer today, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know what question you would like me to answer, and I'll try to include it in my next Q&A.